Hello, my name is Jeremy Tooman, and I'd like to thank you for viewing the first session of 2 of Music Theory for CRAVEunited School of Worship. I will tell you this is a basic foundational building block to be able to get you as fast as we can to understanding music theory so you can apply to your worship team. To start off, there are 12 notes. There are only 12 notes. There was always 12 notes. And of those 12, we like to split those up in 2 descriptions. One of them is going to be natural notes. The other one is accidentals. So of the natural notes, there are 7. Those 7 notes, and we're going to start with the letter A because that's what our alphabet starts with. And they are A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And those notes make up all 7 of the natural notes in music theory. Now that still leaves us with 5 accidentals. And the way we teach this is that every note, or every natural note, is going to get either a sharp or a flat. And what you'll notice is there are 2 sets of notes that does not get a sharp or a flat, and we'll teach those here in just a second. So, to be able to arrange these to where we can use them, we need something to depict and work around that we can easily see this and apply this. And the way we do that is start with drawing a circle. Now once you get your circle drawn, to start this off, we're going to make a hash mark at the top, at the bottom, 90 degrees on the right and the left. Now this makes up 4 of our 12 notes, so we need to fill in the other hashes. So in between each hash mark, we're going to split the difference and make a hash mark in between each one of the 4 we started with. And if you can tell, this looks like a clock. So there are going to be 12 hands or 12 hash marks. And these 12 hash marks are going to represent each one of our notes in music theory. So if we start off with the natural notes that we just learned, which are A, I'm going to begin at the top because our alphabet begins with an A. It's easier to teach to start off with the letter A. So A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now we've just populated the 7 natural notes. And going back, I said that we have 5 accidentals, and each natural note is going to get either a sharp or a flat, with the exception of 2 sets. So the next thing I would like you to know is there's never a sharp or flat in between B and C, and in between E and F. Aside from these 2 sets, we're going to call everything else it's either going to get a sharp or a flat, the sharp or flat. So when we move around this wheel, we need to know how to navigate around the wheel. When we go to the right, we're going to call all the accidentals sharp. And when we move to the right, we're going to be going up a scale. So if you remember back maybe a music class in elementary, or remember the old do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, we start off low, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and we work our way up a scale. So working our way up a scale, we're going to say is going around to the right, which we're going to call all of those accidentals sharp. Now when we go to the left, we're going to call all those flat. Now flat, you can tell that the sharp sign is the pound or the hash symbol. The flat symbol is going to be like an oblonged B. Color that in, and that is flat. So, and that's going to be going down a scale. And so if you can just remember, as your tires is going down, your tire becomes flat. Same thing with the music notes. So, going around to the right, we're sharp. Going to the left, we're flat. Up on the right, down a scale on the left. Now we're ready to populate all your accidental notes. So, the one thing I would like you to remember when we start this is that all of these 5 accidentals are going to get 2 names. For what we're going to teach now at this point, we're going to teach you that the note is just going to get 2 names. So just understand, we could call them either a sharp or a flat once we get done with this. So if we begin with A, again, only because that's the way we've populated the wheel, it's the easiest way to start off with A. So we A, and then it's going to be A sharp. Then from A sharp to B, we said there's nothing in between B and C, so there's no sharp or flat in between B and C. That is one small interval here, which we'll teach you here in just a minute. So there's nothing between B and C. So we go A sharp, B, C. Now here's a space here for an accidental, which we're going to get C sharp. And then we go to D, and again we'll continue on with this from D to D sharp. From D sharp to E. Now we've met another set here that there are no sharps and flats, so understand that it goes D, D sharp, E, and then right from E to F. There are no sharps or flats in between these two because that's the only thing, there's nothing that fits in between there. So we go F, continuing on, F sharp to G, G to G sharp, G sharp back to A. Now we've made it one full revolution around our note wheel, so we've gone one revolution or one octave. From one note all the way around, either way is going to be to the next octave. And octaves, again, going back to the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, we start with do, we end with do, meaning that it's the same note, it's just a higher frequency. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, do. So they're the same notes, it's just the beginning and the end of that scale. We start on the beginning note and we end on the beginning note. So if we start at A, we go around, we end with A. If we're going this way, we're going to end up on a higher A, and once again higher A. Or if we go around to the left, we're going to end on a lower A and going all around to a lower A. You'll find out how that applies in one of the next sessions. Now we've built all the sharps, and as I said before, these accidentals are going to have two different names. So now that we've given them the name of a sharp, now we need to assign them the name of the flat. So if we start with A, we're going to do the same thing going around the opposite direction. So if we start with A, this G sharp can also be called an A flat. And then we go from A flat to G, G to, this one will be G flat to F. Again, this is one of our sets. There's nothing between E and F. So we go right from F to E to E flat to D, D to D flat, D flat to C. Again, this is another set that there's nothing in between. Nothing fits in between the B and C. So we go from C to B, and then from B to B flat, B flat to A. Now we've completely populated our note wheel. Now we found that here's the placement of all of our natural notes and all of our accidentals going around in both directions. So again, the 5 accidentals are going to get 2 names, sharp or flat, depending on which way we're going to work around the wheel. Now, the next thing I'd like to teach are the intervals. Now that we have our wheel populated, we now need to understand how to work around this wheel. If you go to a keyboard or a guitar or whatever instrument that you're going to be playing, you can't simply just play every single note. It would sound like trash or it would sound like noise. So now we need to be able to pull specific notes out of this wheel to create this appealing sound that we like to create. So the next thing I'm going to teach you is how to apply intervals. And intervals really is a way that we work around the wheel and how we pick out these specific notes. So on the intervals, let me go ahead and get rid of on our intervals, there are 2 ways to work around the wheel. We have half steps and whole steps. Half step will identify as an H equals half step. Half step. And a whole step will be represented by a W. On some sheets, you'll see it as an actual fractions, so you'll see it as a half or a 1 for a whole. So, in between each hash mark, or from one note to the next note, not skipping over any notes, which would be from here to here, is 1/2 step. So that's a 1/2 step. From here to here is a 1/2 step. From here to here is a 1/2 step. The one thing I'd like for you to understand is just because I go from a natural note to an accidental is a 1/2 step, I'm going in between two naturals here, but since there are no notes in between those, it's still just a 1/2 step. From one slash to the next slash, or from one note immediately to the next immediate note, it's a 1/2 step. So if I continue to go around, that's a 1/2, that's a 1/2. Whole notes, it's the same as everything else in life. 2 halves make a whole. So if I come back around here, and so from here to here is a 1/2, then from here to here is a whole step. From here to here is a whole step. Anytime I skip over a note or have 2 half steps, those 2 half steps add up to be 1 whole step. So again, if we look at it, we see 1/2 step, 1/2 step, whole step, whole step, because I've skipped over a note. If I want to go back to 1/2 steps, I just go from one note to the next note, 1/2 step, and that's how we work around the wheel. So when we look at the scales that we're fixing to build, they're going to identify their scale pattern in 1/2 steps and whole steps to be able to pick out all the individual notes that make up that scale. So I'm going to draw this note wheel just a little smaller on this, and as we do this, we can do this all together, or you can pause the video at any time, go back and revisit. So let's go ahead and clear our board. Now I'm going to teach you how to do a major scale. Major scale is what we primarily use in contemporary worship. It's not the only thing we use in contemporary worship, but it's the main. We find ourselves using the major scale a lot. So a lot of the songs that you'll either hear on a radio or in your worship bands is going to be a lot of major scales. So that's the one we're going to teach just to get you to understand how to work around intervals. Once you understand intervals and how to work around the wheel, you can build any scale, whether it's major or minor. You can build any chord, whether it's diminished or suspended. All of that, you can build anything you want to if you know this basic knowledge.
At CRAVEunited, we love to be able to help any and every worship team grow in the excellence of worship for their congregation. If you have questions or you'd just like to talk to us about what we do or any ideas, please leave your comments in the section below, or you can email us at info@craveunited.com. You can also reach us on social media at CRAVEunited on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, or you can go to our website at craveunited.com.